one of the big stories of the week, of course, has been the fact that President Donald Trump and members of his administration are launching an investigation into Democratic lawmakers for a critical video posted on X. There's no precedent for going after a sitting senator in this way. Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer, and welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Wednesday, November 26th, 2025. A quick programming note, this will be our last podcast of the week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. We, of course, are thankful for all of you for listening to the podcast and hopefully sharing it with your friends and family this week. All right, let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, what the Trump administration's investigations into several Democratic lawmakers after an X video means. Number two, we've got the Punch Power Matrix. And number three, the latest from the vault. Our financial services policy reporters have the latest on the NDAA talks. All right, let's get into it. One of the big stories of the week, of course, has been the fact that President Donald Trump and members of his administration are launching an investigation into Democratic lawmakers for a critical video posted on X. The video, posted on November 18th, featured Democratic lawmakers with national security backgrounds telling service members that they shouldn't feel compelled to comply with illegal orders. Service members must follow lawful orders under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, this is precisely the kind of Democratic video clip we've come to expect during the Trump era. Of course, veterans, former intelligence officials, and others in the defense space are taking a whack here at the president in a manner that questions his fidelity to the nation's constitutional order. On Monday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said he may punish Senator Mark Kelly, the Democrat from Arizona, for his participation in the viral video. Hegseth ordered the Navy to review the situation and report back to him by December 10th. Kelly is a retired Navy captain and former astronaut. And on Tuesday, all six lawmakers revealed that the FBI had launched an investigation and is seeking to question them. In addition to Kelly, the other Democrats are Representative Jason Crow from Colorado, a former Army officer, Christy Houlihan of Pennsylvania, a former Air Force captain, Chris DeLuzio of Pennsylvania, a former Navy lieutenant who served in Iraq, Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire, who served in the Navy Reserves, and Senator Elisa Slotkin, the Democrat from Michigan, who worked at the CIA. Slotkin said the FBI outreach was from the agency's counterterrorism division. The four House members put out a joint statement. Here's the quote: "No amount of intimidation or harassment will ever stop us from doing our jobs and honoring our Constitution." The FBI declined to comment on the investigation, and while Kelly can't technically be court-martialed given his retiree status, there's no precedent for going after a sitting senator in this way. The issue could eventually be resolved in the courts. Another point, lawmakers are entitled to constitutionally protected speech under Article 1 of the Constitution, so there are major separations of powers questions at play here. Let's talk here first about the Republican reaction. So the Senate has been out this week. There has not been a bunch of reporters going after every single senator trying to get their comment on this. So it's difficult to get a full sense of just how many Republicans think it's unwise to launch federal probes into Democrats for social media videos like this. But we did hear from a few senators, Lisa Murkowski, the Republican from Alaska, and John Curtis, the Republican from Utah, quickly came to Kelly's defense. Curtis said he respects Kelly. Murkowski said this of the Arizona Democrat. To accuse him and other lawmakers of treason and sedition for rightfully pointing out that service members can refuse illegal orders is reckless and flat out wrong. So let's talk about the politics here. On Truth Social, Trump accused the Democratic lawmakers of, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. Trump also reposted a user who said they should be hanged. These new probes centered on the video. Again, it comes as Hegseth and FBI Director Kash Patel are under increasing internal pressure over a variety of issues. Hegseth has been upstaged in a sense by Army Secretary Dan Driscoll. Driscoll, a Yale Law School friend of Vice President J.D. Vance, was dispatched to Ukraine to try to end its war with Russia. And Patel, of course, has been under withering criticism for his use of local FBI SWAT teams to protect his girlfriend. MS Now reports that Patel's days leading the FBI may be numbered. Trump's top law enforcement deputies had yet another setback on Monday when a federal judge dismissed all charges against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, two high-profile Trump enemies. And of course, it's worth pointing out that Hegseth's public comments may politically only help Kelly, a possible 2028 presidential candidate who is a juggernaut in the fundraising world. But like the other 5 Democrats being targeted by Trump, the political benefits come with a cost. They're now facing escalating death threats, and Slotkin, for example, now has a Capitol Police detail. One quick thing before we move on here into the number 2 story of the morning, we have a healthcare update. Brace for a raft of discharge petitions when Congress comes back post-Thanksgiving. Speaker Mike Johnson's decision to call the White House to communicate just how unpopular an Obamacare subsidy extension is has unleashed some furor in the House GOP. One House Republican told us moderate members are apoplectic that Johnson is blocking votes to extend the Obamacare subsidies. They said members plan to join up with Democrats to unload several discharge petitions on the issue after Thanksgiving. The discharge petition issue for Johnson is a real problem and something we're going to be watching very closely. A discharge petition is basically saying that they don't think their leadership is doing a good job and could become a problem for Johnson if they're able to get enough votes to force a vote on the House floor. Trump addressed these subsidies during a gaggle on Air Force One Tuesday evening. Trump said he, quote, rather not extend them, but may need to in order to pass a larger healthcare plan some year. Here's what he said directly. Somebody said, I want to extend them for 2 years. I don't want to extend them for 2 years. I'd rather not extend them at all. Some kind of extension may be necessary to get something else done because the Unaffordable Care Act has been a disaster. We will be watching this very closely as members of Congress return to Washington. All right, let's run to the number 2 story of the morning, the Punch Power Matrix. Who's up and who's down in Washington this week? Who is up? Senator Mark Kelly. We talked about him with the Pete Hegseth, the fact that he's now a target, and the formal investigation in response to the Arizona Democrats' participation in a video. The burgeoning fight with the Trump administration is an unintentional political boon for Kelly. Also up, MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her retirement announcement resulted in a pretty rare outcome. Many House Republicans are agreeing with her. The Georgia Republican accurately summed up how frustrated many lawmakers feel serving in an increasingly fractious and unproductive chamber. Congrats to MTG for getting out of it. And of course, Suzanne DelBene and Hakeem Jeffries are up. Things are looking up for House Democrats. The party is competing aggressively in a December 2nd special election in deep red Tennessee. We talked about that earlier this week. And the 3 that are looking down this week. Jim Justice and his wife are paying $5 million in unpaid taxes to settle a lawsuit with the IRS. Even for a businessman like Justice, that's a lot of cash. Chuck Schumer also down. While Schumer's job as minority leader is safe, a group of progressive Democratic senators are reportedly holding meetings to plot against his agenda. Per the New York Times, there's a quote-unquote fight club emerging to counter Schumer and the establishment. Also down, the Department of Justice. Trump's Justice Department suffered an embarrassing blow when a federal judge dismissed the indictments, as we talked about earlier, of Letitia James and James Comey. The ruling argued that Lindsay Halligan was improperly appointed to serve as the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. All right, let's run to the number 3 story of the morning from the vault. We've got some news here. House Financial Services Committee Chair French Hill, the Republican from Arkansas, walked away from another set of financial policy talks tied to the annual defense authorization package, according to multiple people familiar with the decision. The 4 corners of financial policy leadership in Congress were negotiating a series of NDAA amendments last week that would have bolstered the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund. CDFIs have strong bipartisan support on Capitol Hill, but the program has been under scrutiny from the Trump administration for much of the year. CDFIs are specialized lenders certified by the Treasury Department to do community development lending and other activities. Staff representing 3 of those corners, Senators Tim Scott, Elizabeth Warren, and Maxine Waters, were supportive of language to bolster the CDFI fund, the people familiar said. But aides for the Arkansas Republican abruptly announced their opposition to the amendments via internal talks on Wednesday. The collapse hasn't previously been reported. The amendments under discussion would have introduced a new requirement for the Treasury Secretary to testify before Congress about the CDFI fund, expand the CDFI bond guarantee program, and enhance CDFI's access to capital and liquidity, according to 2 people with knowledge of the talks. Hill aides declined to comment. We will be watching this very closely. There's a lot of pushback push-pull, as we've been talking about what is going to get into that final NDAA package, one of the last legislative vehicles happening before the end of the year. All right, we're going to leave it there. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media. Tell your friends and family. It's a good thing to talk about over the Thanksgiving dinner table, of course. And, of course, you can go deeper on all things Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Sign up for our free morning newsletter. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody.